Disenchantment is the new Netflix series brought to us by Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons and Futurama. In case you can't tell by the same character design he's been using for like 30 years. Well, I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But while The Simpsons was a contemporary comedy and Futurama was a science fiction comedy, Disenchantment is a fantasy comedy. The circle is complete. So the show is about a princess named Tia Beanie who is not really fond of royal life and wants more freedom and doesn't like being a princess and doesn't like being told what to do, and she just wants to go out and have fun all the time, blah blah blah. We've all seen Disney movies. At the beginning of the show she was supposed to be married, but then they broke off the wedding, and throughout most of the series we see her just go off, get into trouble, and get involved in all kinds of debauchery. She's joined by Lucy, who is literally her personal demon, who's always tempting her to do awful things. He's voiced by Eric Andre, also known as that guy on Adult Swim that's always screaming and breaking things. Because comedy. Though I gotta admit, there is something about his design that I really like. You always see him from a profile, you never see him from the front, so you always see the shape of the head and that eye. So whenever he turns, it's always like immediately his other side. And I don't know, there's just something really appealing about just a very simplistic one-color character where all you see is their eye. And her other companion is Elfo, voiced by Nat Faxon, who is an elf that left his world and ventured out into their world. And I really love how naive he is about a lot of things, because he comes from a very happy world and he doesn't really understand the human world, but let's just say he catches on really quick. As for the rest of the voice cast, it almost entirely consists of Futurama alumni, including John DiMaggio, Tress MacNeille, Billy West, and Maurice LaMarche. You know, it would have been really cool if they got some Simpsons voice actors to go in there as well, like maybe Nancy Cartwright or Harry Shearer, Dan Castellaneta, just to mix things up a little bit. So there was a lot of hype around this show, and understandably so, because it's Matt Groening, who has basically built an empire around animated comedy. But I've been hearing a lot of mixed reviews of it, though I think most of it was positive. I've been hearing a lot of people saying it was kind of underwhelming. And after watching all 10 episodes, I can kind of see why. The setup for the show was really good, and they did establish what seemed to be an overarching story right away, which they did make callbacks to throughout the first season. Unfortunately, a lot of the episodes of Season 1 can easily be classified as filler. And that's not good for a first season. A lot of the episodes are pretty much just typical sitcom cliches. Like there was an episode where the king was away and the castle was empty, so the princess decided to throw a house party, but then, oh no, he's coming back early and we gotta clean everything up, you know, that whole shtick. There was another one where they sent her off to a boarding school and she was too rowdy for the boarding school, so she got kicked out. Then there was the old cliche about the dad kicking the daughter out until she gets a job, and then she tries all these different jobs and realizes she's bad at them and blah blah blah. It's stuff we've seen in sitcoms 100 times. Also, the princess is a terrible person. She drinks, she steals, she lies, she destroys property, she gets people killed, and there's little to no consequence. And I get why she's like this, because they establish early on that she has like a trouble with her dad because he doesn't quite understand her, even though he does care about her a lot. Plus, she doesn't have her mom, and her dad remarried some like amphibian woman or whatever the hell is going on there. And there was a little bit of character growth for her in, you know, maybe 1 or 2 episodes, but it wasn't really enough to justify all the stuff she did. And they try to play it out like dark humor, and yes, there were quite a few good jokes throughout the show, and I feel like anybody who enjoyed The Simpsons or Futurama will probably enjoy this because it's kind of the same type of humor, though I think it's a little bit more towards Futurama than it is The Simpsons. Personally, I think Star vs. the Forces of Evil does the whole rowdy, doesn't want to be a princess type of storyline a lot better. Although in a much more restrained way, at least in comparison to Disenchanted, because, you know, it's on Netflix and they get away with a lot more on Netflix. God, can you imagine Star vs. the Forces of Evil being on Netflix instead of Disney? Oh, jeez. However, the show got a lot better toward the end. The last 2 episodes were really, really good because So a whole bunch of crazy stuff happened. There were a lot of big reveals, and it seems that they're going for a little bit more of a serious storyline with little bits of humor sprinkled in here and there. Now, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but consider this a heads up for anybody who is interested in checking this show out. None of your questions will be answered. They try to establish a lot of things in this, and they raise a lot of questions, and unfortunately, none of them will be answered, and Season 1 kind of ends on a very, very crazy cliffhanger that we may or may not get to see the end of. Because as of this video, or rather last time I checked, there is no Season 2 that has been announced. And that is very unsatisfying and very frustrating. Now, I feel like it will get a Season 2 eventually because it's created by Matt Groening, who I think has enough seniority in the animation community that he could probably get a Season 2 produced. And I really hope they do produce a Season 2 because while I think this show has a lot of problems, it did raise my interest and keep me engaged enough that I kind of want to see how this all ends. And as much as I think it's foolish to try and bank everything on a Season 2, I did, for the most part, enjoy the show. I thought it was alright. It could have been a lot better, but I found it intriguing enough to keep watching. So I think most people who enjoy stuff like Futurama will probably also enjoy this. Well, for now, that's all I got for Disenchantment, and hopefully we do get a Season 2. But for now, leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of it. My name is Rob, and have a wonderful day.